Welcome everybody. Today we're going to pick up where we left off last week. Last week we started running unit tests and they were failing. I'm glad we stopped at the point where we noticed we were starting to thrash around. Cooler heads have prevailed and the problems are kind of obvious, kind of not. So let's dig in. Let's make all of these unit tests pass. We'll get the API fired up, and we'll start in with the UI where we've got the list, and we'll start to flex it and see how it works. So let's dive in. Okay, so here's where we left off with the tests. And yeah, we've got a lot of them failing. We expected these to, we expected 200 and we got 401 a lot. And we've got a whole lot of these failed to log in with username. So that is interesting. So diving in, a lot of the failures came here. The API is users for the page, but it is user for the detail, so fail on that one. And that is here for these login tests. Oh, this one, which is kind of fun. This one is also authenticated, where the product one wasn't, so that's a 401. Down here we have similar errors where we're doing users instead of users. Okay, so code review got us to that point, and that was really, really cool. We've got that solved. There was another fail here in user that we found during the code review because we're not logging in. In all of the tests, we do this set authorization header. Let's do this. Const page equals 0, and then we can do page. There we go. That might make it a little more sense, but still, we're not logging into any of these tests. So, of course they're failing. Let's log in. Log in. Nope. Log in. There we're logging in. That's good. Here we need to log in. And let's log in again. Oh, we're logging in there. Good. Let's log in there. And let's log in. Oh, we're logging in there. Good. That's where we're authenticating. That's pretty cool. We're logged in there. And let's get logged in there. Okay. So we had 23 failed tests, npm run test, and let's see if we're doing better. One of the things that was interesting about these test fails is that a lot of them actually came in here in authtoken.js, right here, failed to log in with username. So off screen, I fired up this test in VS Code, and I fired up Postman, and I just tried to log in, sending in username and password, and that failed. And it was kind of interesting because here in the auth route, it failed. I set a breakpoint right here, and it failed here at username regex test. Let's pull up username regex. Okay, so we want a username that is only lowercase letters and possibly numbers, 6 to 32 characters. What can go wrong? What can go wrong? It's only one line of code. Let's take a look at our tests. How'd they go? How are we doing? 7 failed so far. 8, 12, 16. We got a lot of fails. So what can go wrong with one line of code? Well, let's see. Let's create a test, and we can make this a unit test. So we'll create a new folder. Types. Oh, that folder already exists. Perfect. So here in types, let's create a new file called user.spec.ts. I've forgotten that .spec enough times that whoops. Okay. Describe type/user, and we are going after this username regex. Let's see if we can test drive this and figure out what's going on. Now, I like how we did the other tests where we said, let's import this username regex from source types user. I think that's the path. If not, it'll help us. It should log in. No, it should pass. So we can do arrange, act, assert, asset, assert. Okay, now we've got our test. So const actual equals username regex dot test username assert expect actual to equal expected. So now we need a const username equals admin and const expected equals true. We expect this to work. Well, now we could copy and paste it for another username and copy and paste it again, and we did this kind of thing, which was really cool. For each, let's say, we'll spread these and we'll say username expected. And so now with each of these entries in the array, we can create a new test. And the beauty here then is that this test will run for each of them, and I don't have to duplicate all the tests. So let's say username is admin and expected is true. Okay. Well, let's actually put expected first because usernames will have unusual lengths. Should test username as expected. And let's turn that into okay, cool. So now it's going to create a test for each one. Instead of admin and true, we'll grab those from here. Perfect. So admin, we've got website. Both of those should work because those are the things that we've created. We can create another one that will be test 0123. Yeah, that one should work. But now if we do some interesting things, well, what if it's too short? So too short. Well, short. Let's just say S, and that should be false. Too short. Okay. Well, let's also grab a too long. So that's 32 characters. 64 is definitely too long. So we know that that's bad. Let's also go for invalid characters. So invalid characters. This one will test that numbers are okay. But this one will test that space is not okay. Let's go grab this one and set it in place. Invalid. Let's give it some of those characters, and we expect that to fail. Okay. So now we've got a test that should prove if admin and website work. Those are the two that we've got hard-coded in our setup. That's cool. npm run test. Oh, we had 16 fail as opposed to 23. We're definitely making progress. Now that we've got these new tests, we can give those a fire and see how that'll work. We've got the plugin telling us that all of them failed, but what it doesn't know is that because we're passing in the loop, that this is actually 6 or 8 different tests. So we'll have to wait for these results. That's cool. Go, 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 go. Ooh, I've got a bright light there. Go, 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 go. Okay, so we have 1 fail. We have 2 fail. How's our new test? So unit route, unit service, test unit. Oh, I bet I didn't prefix this. Did I forget to save? Nope. User. Types user. Okay. Test end to end. I'm in the right folder. Double checking this one. Yep. So what we find, ooh, there's the fail. What we find is that admin fails. Admin is only 5 characters. So yeah, when I did this, when I practiced this, I had done 5 characters. When I did it live, I had actually set it to 6. Whoops. So now that we set this to 5 characters, now we can come back in here to this test, and we should expect this to succeed. So npm run test. Not only will this succeed, but in all of the places here where it was trying to log in, and it was trying to log in right here with admin, and username regex test was failing. Well, yeah, admin wasn't 6 characters. But now we have a test that will validate that our default username will work. Now we might find the boundaries more specifically. This is 48, 30, 62 characters? No, 52 characters, 54 characters, and this is 1 character. So we know 5 works, and we know 1 and 54 don't. We might want to have one that is 31 that works, and one that is 32 that works, and one that is 33 that doesn't work. Okay. This gets it done, though, and so that's cool. Let's take a look at, ooh, there's the user spec, and it passed. Woo! So now we know that our admin user will pass, and because our admin user will pass, then I bet all of these other tests will pass too. Ooh, we have 1 fail. But we're really, really, really close. That's cool. Oh, we have 5 failing. So what was really cool in this is that we had a problem, we wrote a test to reproduce that problem, and then when we fix that problem, now we'll know that that fix will last for as long as we need it. And that's cool. We were able to prove the business rule. The other thing, it's only just 1 line of code. Well, yeah, it's 1 line of code. My friend Jeremy Bites likes to talk about it, and Barry Stahl. Which lines of code aren't important that they work correctly? So, yeah, writing a test over every line of code is important. Now, we do have this code coverage metric, and code coverage is interesting, but it's kind of more of a vanity metric. Yes, it will validate that we've tested every line of code, and as you can see, we aren't, but it won't validate that you've tested every scenario over every line of code. And so in that, I would really love a good metric that was scenario testing. That's not really a thing. Like, is there a code coverage over scenarios? Okay, got failing status when creating. Ooh, how long is this username? I bet we got a 400 because bad username. Bad username again. So here in should modify a password. Got failing status when creating username. So that got failing status when creating username is here in this fixture. where we go get the, oh no, username create. Got failing status when creating username. Okay, so failing username, it will go create a fake user right here. Here's this fake user. Fake user will call, it actually goes and grabs this username, but in all the places that we're creating a username, we're doing this. Well, what do we get when we do this? So what we'll get, let's actually go look at the test results. We get this. Well, we've got letters and numbers. Let's create a new file. It is 37 characters long, and it needs to be between 32. So there we go. There's something that's shorter than 32, and we had to characters. So let's do that. So let's create a const length equals math.random times 22 plus 10. So math.floor. So now we have a number that is somewhere between 10 and 32 characters. Okay, so now let's build this. We're already replacing the dashes. That's good. Const username equals that. But now that may be too long. So username dot substring 0 length. Now we'll get a variable length substring that is pretty cool because we'll kind of get it matched into the spot that we need it. Now, is the beginning or the end of a GUID more random? It is possible now that we could get GUID collisions. So maybe this isn't perfect, but it's pretty close. If we wanted to, I don't know, say leave test out of it, and so let's say 6. And now we'll only grab the GUID part, and then we'll say, okay, so let's go grab this. But instead of that, let's say start at 32 minus length. Now, I don't know. I think this is a little bit easier to understand. And let's add a comment just in case. Usernames are between 5 and 32 characters. Okay. So now that we've got a username that is somewhere between 10 and 32 characters, now I bet we'll get a whole lot more success. npm run test. Go, 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 go. Okay, this is so cool. We've got some tests. Ooh, 13 actually came out not too long ago, so it looks like I probably have to update Node too. We're doing well. Our user spec passed. We're in our properties test. All of them look good so far. None of them have failed. This is awesome. Here's a bunch of post data. I wonder if they use debug to get the results pulled into Jest. I've used console in the past, but that might be interesting. Everything's looking great. Like getting this into debug might be easier than console log. Woohoo! 67 passing tests! That was awesome. And we've got coverage over pretty much every file. There's some that aren't covered at all, like index. Well, the interesting thing about index is this is the thing that, where is it? Right here. This is the thing that kicks it off, and it's kind of the only thing that we can't unit test because, well, it's going to go kick off a port, and we may not have that port available, and because we're not getting it back, how do we kill it? we could do some interesting things like return app or return server, but because we're executing it right here, it's not like we're creating a variable that we're exporting. We could do some interesting things about like if not main module export, we start having diminishing returns. One of the other ones that isn't covered at all is source index. Well, source index is kind of interesting here. If we come in here, not index, routes index rather. Routes index will serve the home page. This is an API. We don't need a home page. Bye-bye. I would like to delete this. Let's also delete it out of the index, or rather app. Let's grab this. Now we will get a 404 page in the case of errors, but yeah, you're right. Well, actually we'll get a 500 because of the way we're doing routing there. And because of that, it was actually pulling out this publics folder, and we don't need publics in the API either. So, there's no images, there's no JavaScript, there's no style sheet. This index page that says welcome to Express, yeah, this is an API. We don't need any of this. Let's this folder too. Admin permissions, that's interesting. Okay, so now that we killed off index, when we run coverage, then that will npm run test. That will improve all of that as well. Now the interesting thing here is we can play games to try and get to 100%, and probably if we got to 100%, what it would show is not so much that we've reached coverage of all of our scenarios, that we've followed every code path and every permutation, but rather that we're really good at gaming the system. If we're really good at gaming the system, so I try to aim for 70s, 80s, maybe 90s. 90s is a good spot, somewhere around 86, 94 in that range. That's an A, but 100%, you probably have to cheat to get there. And if you're doing 100% code coverage, you're probably focusing on less on the user experience and more on just gaming the code coverage metric. So, yeah, let's not worry about it. But we do know that all of our tests are passing, and this is wonderful. So now we have an API where we can do interesting things with users. That is perfect. That was our goal, was to build this user administration screen. And so now that we've got this user administration screen set, let's npm start, npm run start. And we do have our admin API up as well. So let's go there. Now last time we went there, we were able to log in, but we weren't able to do anything because we kept getting errors when we were logging in. So this will be our first chance to take this admin screen out for a spin. Admin, the password is password. We set that in our database migration. Ooh, API auth gave us a 500 error. That is unexpected. Oh, could not proxy. I bet I was racing. Connection refused. Yep, it's still building. It hasn't spun up yet. Go, 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 go. Okay, so yeah, there are other ways to build TypeScript. TSC, or I think that's the one, is able to build a lot faster than just TSC itself. It doesn't do the type checking, so for the most part, it's just like stripping out all the types. There's some really interesting things as we get going. View 3 allows us to use Vest, I've forgotten the name of it, but it actually will do the TypeScript transpilation in the browser. No, it actually serves as modules, so there is no build process here, which is really, really interesting. Fight. So as we get to view 3, then moving to Vite might be really, really interesting. Viewtify isn't ready for View 3 though, so we'll need to wait. Password. Let's log in. Yes, we're logged in. Here's our product list. Yes, our tests have been hammering new products. That's totally fine. This is a test database. Here's our user page. We've got users. That's cool. Well, our tests have been hammering this as well, but now we have interesting things where we can turn on and off knobs. And we see that that's succeeding. That's really cool. Now we do show the root user. Should we hide the root user? Should we give it permissions? I don't know. It is a real user in the database, so having it be a real user here kind of makes sense. Here's ourselves, catalog read only. I've tripped this a few times where I turn it off and then I go to turn it back on and I don't have permission to do so, which is pretty hilarious. But yeah, we see that we can set permissions. Let's test this password box and test that for a spin. Okay, so new password, new pass. We can hide it and show it. That works great. Save. Ooh, it called our API correctly and we got a 200 saying that that's the new password. That's cool. We've got all these users. Let's create a new column that is a delete column. That could be really cool. So here in our, we've still got the API open. So let's switch over to the admin screen and take that for a spin. Now that we've got the admin screens open, we can take a look at the user list component. User list, perfect. Now we have here in the user list a list of columns. Oh, we've got set password right here. That's cool. But we haven't told it how to do that. So let's grab one of these, a template, and give it item.password and not password, delete. Did we call it secret? Yeah. So, oh no, this is set password. This one will be item.delete. Let's just call it item.delete. And we'll say delete. Delete me. Haha. We'll come back to what actually goes there in a minute. But let's also add the column header. Oops. Copy paste. Set password. Delete. The value is delete. And we'll align center. Sure. So what do we want to put in this column? Well, we can head off to Viewtify and take a look at the components in there. But because we're using Font Awesome, let's come back to, let's look at Font Awesome. Search icons. Key is interesting. That's how we got this key. Let's say delete. We might have to say like cross or X or something. Cross. Yeah, there we go. Time circle. That looks cool. So time circle. Coming in here, let's say we have a V icon. And let's set its color to be, I don't know, E53935. That sounds red enough. FAS, FA dash times circle, V icon. Cool. Now, if we can we say Alt? Nope. Bummer. Okay, so how does that icon look? Let's come back to our product admin screen and let's refresh it. Item is defined but never used. You are correct. Okay, so let's use it. Well, when we click this, click equals delete user item. Okay, so let's build that delete user. Here's our methods where we have set password. Let's say async delete user. That's going to take in a user that is a user model. And what do we want to do? Well, let's do this. This dot $emit delete user. And what user do we want to delete? Well, user.username. And so, I kind of want to return an object rather than just a string. Username is user.username. Do we want to give the whole object to delete? Maybe, but I think this might be sufficient. Delete user. All we need is that username to be able to pass it. Yeah, let's actually send off the entire user. If you want to go look at other permissions, like what groups they're part of, then that's totally fine. Okay, admin, password. If we have time, let's get it to persist logins. That could be really, really fun. But right now, let's just fire this up. Okay, we have a delete button that correctly does absolutely nothing. And it does nothing because we haven't wired it up to do anything. We've got our component emitting this delete user. Let's call it user deleted. If we have a lot of these methods, user changed, then it might be better to do it that way. Okay, so that's in our user list component. In our user list view, where we're listening to these, now we can come in and let's say here, user changed will go into save user, and user deleted will go into delete user. Okay. Now we don't yet have a delete user, so let's come in and build a delete user. Now, much like save user, here's save user. Oh, we haven't saved the user yet. Let's do that too. Oh, we actually did. We saved it right here. That's perfect. Delete user. Okay. So all we need is the username. Const username equals user model.username. And now let's say delete to API user slash username. And now that will delete the user. Now we also need to change our list here. We can do something if the error happens, and showing a toast would be really helpful. This.users equals this.users.filter where u.username not equals username, and now we've filtered it out of the list. Now we are waiting until it finishes to filter it out, and we're not filtering it if there's an error. So if we don't actually successfully do it, then that's helpful. But we do need to find a way to show the error message. Let's come back to that. Okay. User deleted got undefined. Admin password. Okay, flip to our users. Let's delete this test user. Well, that's not working. Let's put a breakpoint there, and let's also put a breakpoint here. And that way we'll know we've gotten to the right place. Delete user. Okay, so I think that's going to be okay. Let's close to the right. And let's fire this up. Now we have separated the view and the component so that our component can work in Storybook or in tests, and our view can work in all of the other places. And so that separation is nice. We could talk about higher order components and things. Okay, so we're going to emit the user deleted event. Yes, we got there. So what's our username? Here's our username. What's our result? Is the result okay? Yes. So now let's filter out the users, and everything worked. And that user is gone. Those names are similar enough, though, that ooh, all of our new usernames are quite shorter. It sounds like our random function is yielding smaller than bigger. Okay. So let's pull the debuggers out. That worked out real well. And now we can do stuff like, well, let's delete, oh yeah, let's refresh. Hitting those breakpoints every time would be really lame. Admin, password, users. Okay, so let's delete this test user, and let's delete this test user, and this test user, and this test user, and this test user. 12 users total, 11, 10, 9. There we go. All the users are gone. Now, how do we create a new user? Let's do that. That'll be pretty sweet. One of the other things is we lost one of our other users. Let's come back to our migration and take a look at it. Now, we could start running the migration that puts the website user back in place. One of the things that I've noticed is that when I get a database in an unusual state, I can just say npm run db reset. That will migrate it all the way down, which will delete all the tables, all of the everything. And then I can say npm run db up, and then it will migrate everything back into place. So the cool thing is, in spite of the fact that we accidentally deleted our website user, this will put it back. And that is perfect. So if we come back in here and go to users, now our test ran again, but now we have our website user again. There's our website user. That's cool. We could do some stuff in our test to go clean up any users that start with test after we finish. I don't know. I think it isn't too bad. Let's build that user add button. Okay, so user add button. That will come here in our user list component. Right now we have this that says user list, but let's add a new thing. Okay, so I really like how the pop-up worked. So here's our view button. Let's actually grab a button and we'll just say v button, and we'll wrap that icon. I like the way the pop-up worked though. This pop-up that we've got when we change the password, let's do something like that. We need to prompt for username and password. So back in the Viewtify docs, let's take a look at, oh, there's cards. Let's take a look at dialogues. Now the dialogue that is built into the data table is interesting. But the dialog built into the data table is specific to the data table. So a modal, yeah, kind of like that, but ooh, a form. Yes, something like that. Let's do that. Okay, so here's the template. And we do have an open dialog mechanism. Grab all the things. There we go. So let's set that in place right here. Now we'll probably prompt for a lot less fields. Did that go before or after? Okay, so there's that dialog. And there's that dialog. Now, right now we have this button that triggers it. Let's swap it out with this button. Now, what's it going to do for what is on and afters? Yeah. New user. Okay, so now we have our content. Let's say this is username, and that is required. Let's say this is password, and this is password. This one is required as well. And I think we can probably nuke a lot of these. That looks pretty good. All of them are required fields. Actions. Okay, so click. Dialog is equal to false. That's the close button. Let's say, cancel. And here's the save button. Okay. Now let's take that out for a spin and see how we did. At this font size, it's difficult to see them all. Now we could load this up in Storybook and get a feel for it there. We've already got it right here, so let's try it. Admin, password, users. It's left aligned and it's inside the table. That's probably a mistake. Oh, it's inside the card. Yeah, let's move it outside the card. There we go. And it would be cool if it was left aligned. Right aligned rather, but it's not too bad. Let's pop it open. Ooh, username, password. Now it could be cool to be dense. But I think we're moving in the right direction. Save and cancel. Ooh, it's not doing anything, and it's not doing anything because we haven't defined this dialog in our model. Okay, so let's come back to the model, and here we'll need dialog, and right now it's not open. But let's make it reactive just in case. Password show, let's say dialog open. That's a little bit easier to understand. And new username, new password. We'll need to bind those fields so that we can go grab them. We've got password rules right here. That's pretty cool. We know that our username rules are Rules, nope. Username is required. Username must be 5 to 32 characters. And we actually have this username regex.test that we can do to validate it that way. That's perfect. Username rules, password rules, dialog open. So up here in this dialog, we can say, ooh, vText field. Let's say vModel equals new username. This one will say vModel equals new password. And now we have these buttons that say dialog open and dialog. These will close the dialog, which is cool. The dialog is present if dialog open. That's cool. And vForm, I don't think we have a form here. So let's say vForm ref equals new user form, and at submit dot prevent equals save new user. Okay, now our container can be inside that. That's perfect. vForm. We can give these fields some rules. Username rules. Username rules. Did I typo that? Ooh, thanks for the nod, Kajakas. Apologies, I've likely hammered your name there, but that was awesome. Thank you. Username rules. vModel is new username. Label required. Well, we've kind of solved required the other way so that we can kind of get rid of that, although can't hurt. vModel is password. Label is password. We need some rules here. Rules equals password rules. And we did some cool stuff down here with showing and hiding the password. So let's go grab that. There we go. Cool. So now we can, rather than having these buttons that do this, let's have a button that doesn't just do that. Oh, actually, those are fine. But where's our save button? Here's our save button. So this one will be save new user. And we could say .prevent. Save new user, and this one, let's say close new user. We want to take a little bit more control over how that works. Okay, so form submit. We also have save new user. So let's go build those methods. Down here, props methods. Okay, we've got delete user, async save new user. That will take in nothing. And we've got close dialog. Is that what we called it? Close new user. Okay, so here in close new user, this dot dialog open equals false. But we also might want to do some things like this dot new username equals blank, and this dot new password equals blank, because you're done with it. this dot new user form dot reset validation. So it won't be red squiggly. New user form. Well, here we created the refs to say that this was a new user form, but this .refs.new user form isn't always great. So here, do we have a computed section? Nope. Okay. Computed. Now here we can say new user form. Now new user form is of type so this dot $refs dot new user form as HTML form element. So now it has all the things, and it also has a reset validation method, which is that. That type is kind of messy, and I wish that the HTML, that the Viewtify form element was more defined with TypeScript details, but that gets us through. And so now that we have that reset validation, then we can do that. That's cool. So save new user. We probably want to do all of this stuff as well. Oh, let's actually do await view.nextTick. And the reason that we'll await view.nextTick is let the dialog close first before we start cleaning out all of the pieces. Okay, so here in the so now we've decided to save the user. And so we can say const valid equals this dot new user form dot validate, not no validate, dot validate. We may need to put that on our interface as well. If not valid, then do nothing. The squiggles will show up in the form and the user will be able to take action. That's cool. This dot dialog open equals false. We've got that, so let's move that up here. Now that we're hiding the dialog, let's do this. Const user of type user model is this. Their username is this dot new username. Secret is this dot new password. That's where you're mad. And roles. Right now we haven't chosen any roles. So actually that's in the user. Here we can say catalog read only is false, and catalog editor is false, and user editor is false. And so now we've got that new user. This dot $emit. And we can say user changed. And here's that new user. Now the cool thing is in our view, we already listened for user changed. User changed will call user save. Since there's no ID associated with the user, whether we update or insert is handled completely in the API. So we don't need like a user created event. We just need a user changed event. That's cool. So we do that, then let's wait a second, and then let's go remove all those things. We can also do something interesting like this dot value dot push user to say, hey, we just went and added the user to the collection. Now, should we do that here, or should we make the view do that? We could go back and forth. And the reason that I'm going to do it here is because we're saying that this event, this user changed, and we're not telling it whether the user changed because we added it or the user changed because we changed it, then the view doesn't know. So we would have to spit out different events to get there. Okay, but now I think we've got this in place. Let's try it out. admin. Oh, actually, let's do this while we're right here, though. vDialog template. We can say here vCall class equals text right. And so this column inside the prompt will allow us to right align the button. Now, it doesn't say anything about right aligning the dialog contents. It's just that part, the go button. So now our go button will be kind of near our delete buttons. Admin, password, users. Ooh, there we go. Here's a new user button. Here's the username. New user, new pass. We can choose to show and hide the password. That's perfect. I'll click save. And here's new user. It has no permissions. Perfect. Let's add some permissions. We've got all the permissions. Let's actually uncheck user editor. We'll log out. And we'll log in as new user, new pass. Yeah. Now this user doesn't have the user screen because we're not logged in that way. But if we come back in as the admin, now we do have that ability to get to users. And so there's our new user sorted alphabetically there. That worked out real well. Let's refresh, double check those users are all the way gone. They are. So right now we're not persisting the password through user refreshes. We definitely could, but I think we got enough. We got pretty far today. We got all of those unit tests solved. We've got, and so now our user API works out great. Setting the password, creating the user, all of those details now are baked into the API so that we don't need to look at any of the particulars of the any of those particulars on the UI side. We can just say save user and it'll work. Pulling that API into place, let's take a look at that because that is really cool. Routes, user. As we save the user, we very specifically check to see